Yeah, welcome to a video where I'm going to repeat everyone else what they're saying about the Switch 2 if they have common sense. Because I don't understand why people paid for this console and decided to make this successful. Now, I'm not saying this because, I'm against everything Nintendo does. Nah, my childhood console was the Nintendo Wii. Nintendo literally made good console after good console for decades. Where the Switch 2 is the first console, I don't know why anyone wants it. Because we could look at the competition as in Nintendo's history, because there's a lot of consoles Nintendo added that added a bunch of revolutionizing stuff in the video game industry, because they saved the video game industry for a reason. Such as the NES is essentially the start of people actually listening to video game music, and literally combining sound effects with music, and also have a better controller than the Atari 2600. Should I go on why the NES is revolutionary? Since they shoved a bunch of plastic add-ons in for a reason for the NES. While the Super NES is essentially debatably the best console Nintendo has ever made. It was the start of 3D gaming, Star Fox as an example. Straight up advanced storytelling in video games, because the NES had simple stories which is better than none, but still not that much of an improvement compared to the Super NES, and also basically put RPGs in the map in America. The N64 is not a good console. This was the worst time possible to use cartridges still. The controller was terrible. A lot of games that were actually enjoyable in the N64 constantly fought back against the controller. They have the most popular games to speedrun in because of how broken the games are. And you have to shove in an expansion pack just to even give it a longer life expectancy than 2 years. And the Nintendo GameCube, I think, is a great console. The Wii is a great console. The Wii U is fine. And the Switch I just don't like because Joy-Con drift and everything else everyone else has mentioned about the Switch 1. So there, I just speedrun all the competition the Switch 2 has to face. So let's check what the Switch 2 offer. You got this trash camera that costs $50. Why does it cost $50? Because...
Fuck you, give me money!
I can't think of any other reason because the camera is terrible. So how about the controller? This god-awful controller that looks uncomfortable as hell and probably rivals how bad it is compared to the N64 controller. So why does this cost money? And why the actual better controller costs more money than this? Because...
Fuck you, give me money!
Or why the physical copies are a literal scam because you don't 100% own it, it's just a cartridge to tell them to download it digitally?
It's the biggest piece of dog shit that I have ever heard.
Or why does a Joy-Con drift still exist even though that was the biggest issue the Switch 1 has?
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Money talks, okay. Or how about literally spent 8 years of development on this Mario Kart game and literally has features that are not in Mario Kart 8. No 200cc, literal straight line level design, flat out cosmetics, half of the characters don't even have their cosmetics, boring open world, if not an empty open world. The list goes on. This is not worth $80 to $90 because the game feels flat out unfinished. And Nintendo knows this. That's why they literally shoved this game in a bundle where it costs $50. Or how about an 8-year-old game that's gone more expensive somehow even though it's 8 years old? And this game you could beat in 45 minutes or an hour if you know what you're doing. So why are they charging this amount of money on a game that's 8 years old?
Best switch up that attitude.
Or why are we charging games from the Switch 1? Because Switch 2 has backward compatibility to Switch 1 games, and they're charging more money for no reason when you can literally use backwards compatibility. Do they even actually believe the customers are that stupid? Also, remember when Nintendo is against fan games and against people being inspired by their work or something like that? Or Nintendo trying to sue Power World for taking inspiration from Pokemon? Well, Nintendo is fine only one person doing it, so unless you're Toby Fox, you can't be inspired by WarioWare, you can't be inspired by Punch-Out, and you can't be inspired by other Nintendo games, or you can't be inspired by Earthbound. Make up your own goddamn mind, Nintendo. Do you want to be Sega and actually allow people to fix your games or add more content to your games for free? Or you just want to rip them off and get more money? And I've not even mentioned the dock, I have not mentioned the battery life being shorter, and the reason why the battery life is shorter because you're dealing with a bigger screen, better graphics, which equals more power, more electricity, and essentially that's why you have less power on the Switch 2. Since the only thing the Switch 2 has given me so far is these terrible apology videos, where it's like, why did you buy the Switch 2 when you're against Nintendo as a company for years? So if we look at the Switch 2, it has the worst launch title I've ever seen in a Nintendo console. The console offers nothing new, it's actually debatably worse than the Switch 1, and Nintendo trying to cause a video game crash 2.0 because they're making things so goddamn expensive and not affordable anymore. Like, I am convinced this number, the reason why people bought the Switch 2 is because of social media drama. They wanted to make a video saying how terrible the Switch 2 is, like I'm doing, since Nintendo is helping them to give them a video idea, or just doing terrible apology videos saying, I regret buying the Switch 2. And I did hear people giving people death threats on X and Twitter on people getting the Switch 2, but to be honest, due to them getting the Switch 2 and wasting all of their money, they're essentially asking a death sentence anyways, by being in massive debt because they made video games more unaffordable. And also, if you can tell with the gameplay I'm using, I did not buy a Switch 2 because majority of these games are from the PC. Because this is what Nintendo advertised and what other YouTubers has claimed. But if you actually bought the Switch 2 and decided to get Mario Kart World for like 120 bucks or 90 bucks, then obviously the rope is right there because you're going to be massively in debt and basically ruin people's hobbies for no reason, and you're an asshole that hates video games. And if a kid or teenager's hearing that, don't worry, I'm saying that to the parents. The parents are the ones at fault if they decide to buy the Switch 2 if you're a minor watching this. So anyways, I'm gonna end the video here. If you want a democracy country to function, you need to not spend the Switch 2, because the Switch 2 is a literal dust collector, and you're gonna probably destroy the economy more even buying it.